Hi, Robyn. I'm doing a follow-up reading for you, and I'm going to go ahead and use the Waite tarots. I haven't actually used these since the last time I did your reading, and they're really receptive for you, so I think that's what we'll do. We're going to continue from the last reading with some questions about this new relationship you have. In your case, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle this a second time. It feels good to do it, so that's what I'm doing. And I'll just cut them that way. I have about 7 questions that I came up with in regards to your situation. So I'm going to go ahead and set out 7 cards, and then I'm going to do an outcome card for you. And then we'll go through them with the questions that I have pertaining to your relationship, the direction it's going, if it's positive, and how both of you feel, not just how he feels. So we can get a little bit better sense of the path for this. So I'm going to do the first card, which is the Queen of Cups. The question for that one is, how are you feeling? And of course the Queen of Cups makes sense for you because this is a love interest that you have. So we'll take a look and see how that fits with everything else. The second card is going to be, how is he feeling? And this is the 5 of Wands, and Wands of course is a strength card. I'm going to go ahead and set all the cards out and then we'll go through them. Third question I want to ask is this a positive direction, and where is it actually going from here? And this is the Moon card reversed. And the next question I'm going to ask is, do you both see the same thing in each other? Do you feel similar for each other? In other words, is he feeling like he's interested in you? Does he want this to progress or not? And then you, we already know your feelings, but we want to see if his kind of match up. And that's a reversed 2 of Cups. Okay, I really did want to ask what his take on you is. How he sees you, maybe even initially how he saw you and how that has turned out. What at this point, where has it developed? So that card would be this is the 10 of Swords, kind of a conflict card. We'll see how that fits in with this. And then I wanted to ask, if the relationship does develop from what we see here, is he a kind of person that would commit to you? Not just whether or not he is a person who would commit to a relationship, but would he actually commit to you? Could it be that important that he would take that step? And I don't really mean marriage, I mean exclusivity, where he didn't see others because of you. And that is the King of Cups. And I wanted to ask also, is this going to be a serious relationship? Or is this going to be more based on having fun together? So should you look forward to committing yourself to the relationship, or at least just committing yourself to having a wonderful, spectacular time with this individual? And is that a positive thing for you both? And that's the reversed Page of Pentacles. I'm not going to turn this card up yet. This is going to be your outcome card. Basically, if things go the way the cards are set up right now, the flow continues the way it is, then this is what you would expect for an outcome. And I'll talk a little bit about how these things all mesh together for you and for him, and if maybe you should take a different direction, or if maybe you should expect him to take a different direction. So whether or not you would want to invest a lot of your time in this. Once we look at that and get down to the last card, I'm going to flip this outcome card over to see if it's a positive, continuing kind of goal or not for you and for him as well. So let's take a look at the Queen of Cups. And how are you feeling right now? Not just about this relationship, but in general, how has all of this affected you, essentially? The Queen of Cups, of course, cups is like love, happiness, that sort of thing. And the Queen is a kind of a devoted, dreamy, warm-hearted person. So for you, this actually is a relationship that you would like to see develop. And you're feeling very kind and loving towards him. So the relationship so far has been better than expected, except for the questions that you have about, you know, your concerns for his feelings for you, his thoughts on the matter, whether or not you two are, you know, going to work out together. You are forever hopeful, which is not a bad thing, you know. It's always good to look on the positive side, of course, but I know you're sensitive. I could feel that you're very sensitive, and so the fear for you is whether or not you're going to invest yourself in this and become involved and then possibly be hurt. Nobody wants to be hurt. I did kind of stress the fact that, you know, that's part of life, and sometimes experiences are actually worth going through that and maybe losing it. Everybody wants to keep what they get that makes them happy, but not having the experience sometimes is a loss in your life. You know, it's a part of your life that there's always good. Even when there's bad after a breakup, there's things you can look back on that you learn from, that sort of thing. You're feeling good, confused, but you still have this, I really would like to get involved in this. I would really like to see it go forward and be a positive thing, because you just have that connection. You feel that connection with him, and you're wondering if the same comes back to you from him. So obviously this thing is like great for you at this point, except for the questions that you have. If it were to continue on, you would be happy as pie, and that's of course what we'd like to see. So let's look a little further. How he's feeling, which is the Five of Wands. Wands being kind of a fire sign, and it really indicates you know, growth and energy, that sort of thing, which I believe he has plenty in excess of. And I think this card indicates that he feels kind of the same towards you. Your energies are very similar, and he finds that, you know, really nice. That's a joyful thing for him, because in his mind, if he does have a partner, he would really like to have one that was similar in their strengths and in their nature, and he does see that in you. This doesn't indicate that he is fully invested yet, or that that's the direction he's taking. He's you know, an internalizer, and as an internalizer, he likes to think things out and, you know, make sure that this really is what he wants. And I'm not sure that he's absolutely certain on that, but he does feel good about it. His internal struggles are mostly like yours. He's been hurt somewhat in the past. He's sensitive, and so if he takes this move, he really wants it to be good for him as well as it is for you, because his concern right now is him, and I think that's a very man kind of thing. You know, they oftentimes don't think a little bit further than that when a new relation comes up. He's got questions, and he's got feelings, and what he really wants is, if there's a connection, he wants it to grow in a positive way. He does see that in you, but as I said, he's still fighting a little bit internally on what direction he wants to take. I think he's very interested in you, and that's why this little internal fight is going on for him. He's interested in the fact that you and him have kind of made a connection. And so if part of him wants to say, yes, I'd go fully into it, and part of him says, well, you know, be careful because you could be hurt too. So that's kind of a same thing that you both have. And it's interesting because at some point while you're together, I think you'll both cover that if you haven't already at least, you know, minimally addressed it. I think that's something you'll both talk about. Being candid with a new relationship can be a little bit difficult because you're still feeling out who that person is, but I think that's a direction that both of you should take if you decide you want to continue in this together, is that you're going to need to be pretty open with each other about things that have happened to you and what makes you happy, what hurts your feelings, that sort of thing. We're all little islands. We really can't read other people's minds, so it's pretty easy to hear something from someone and misinterpret it. And I think that's what's happened to him in the past. I don't think that's happened to you, but I think that might have been part of what happened to him in a previous relationship, is that he misunderstood. So that's where his internal conflict comes from. Now the next question I ask is if this is going in a positive direction or not, and where is it headed? And this is a major arcana card, the Moon, and the Moon is reversed. Oh, we know that the Moon itself, it means, let's see how I can put this in context for you. It's like, in a reverse form, it's like deception. You recognize it and you don't exploit others. So for the both of you, I think you're both sensitive to this kind of feeling, and in particular, carefully recognizing deception, which is really important in a relationship, because what you want, if you really want a relationship, is to see that person for who they are and match their qualities with your own. So this is kind of the direction that it's going in right now. You're both feeling each other out equally, okay? He's not going to mad dash into it, and obviously you're not going to mad dash into it, because you are the kind of person that wants to have a man be the aggressor. I don't really mean aggressor, there's another word for that. You want him to be approaching you first. You don't want to be the person that says, hey, you know, I like you, come on, let's go do something. You want him to do the gentlemanly thing. That appeals to your nature, and he has that in him. If he's hesitating, it's only because he wants to take this slow. So I think that's a positive thing here, as far as both of you recognizing those important factors in a relationship and considering them between the two of you. So to me, like I said, that is a positive direction. It means that you guys are taking the time to really look at the possibility of a relationship, although maybe you haven't discussed it between you. It's on both of your minds. So I see that as positive. If the Moon had been upright, it would have meant insincerity and hidden dangers, but in the upside down reverse position, it actually means more of a recognition of the reality of the situation. So to me, that's a good sign. It just means that you guys are on the right track. I asked the cards about his take on you. Basically where it's at right now, but kind of looking back and seeing if this has developed into, you know, something that he's thinking a lot about you. This is a reversed Two of Cups. Again, cups being happiness and love, that sort of thing. That's where this kind of associates for him. He's thought about it being a possible love. Obviously, he's already very fond of you. His take on you, as far as the Two of Cups goes, is he sees it's a beginning of a friendship and love agreement. And when I say agreement, I'm looking back here and back at the both of you and seeing that it's going to be something that's got to be mutual, and he's got to recognize it as mutual, and he would hope that you do too, because that's how his thoughts, the direction his thoughts go. So, you know, there's got to be a point where you two look at each other and you say, you know, I think this is something special. You know, maybe it's not quite ready for that point, but I think as long as you guys progress a little bit at a time here, you know, continue to get to know each other, this card tells me that he already sees it as a possibility. The reverse Two of Cups, that's exactly what it says. There's no misunderstanding between you, or the breaking up kind of thing in the future is not an issue at this point, because he's taking this into consideration. If there is a future breakup, it's something that I think could be remedied as long as you two are candid with each other, and you know that he wants to learn more about you and feel whether or not you are sensitive in the same way that he is. So I don't see that as a bad card, not in line with what we've got going on here. So, would he commit specifically to you? Would he consider you a person that he would commit with? And this is a Ten of Swords, swords being a kind of a conflict card. The 10 is like a difficulties of plans for him. I don't know if this is a time in his life where he's got a lot of things going on, or maybe he has some travel plans, or there's something going on in his working life, but he needs to make time if he wants this to happen. And so commitment for him would be looking at what he's got going on in his life right now, and how would you fit in there right now. It might be more of a situation where he would want to see how this relationship travels as far as a direction before he would stop and look at his other commitments and see how you would fit in and actually make room for you. Not as, something lesser than what he's got going on elsewhere, but as an important factor in his life. So he's going to be one of these people who, before he commits, he's going to carefully weigh how responsible you and him would be together, how this would affect his life in general, if he would have to make changes or contemplate a move, that sort of thing. He's going to have to look at those things before he would ever commit. And so, he's a deep thinker, and I think being the way he is, which is extroverted, and a real doer, a real active person, involved socially, that sort of thing, that bringing something new into his life and making commitment, in the past maybe this didn't work so well for him, so when he looks at it, he's going to take a view at what's going on in his life now and see if this is positive for him and he thinks he wants to commit with you at some point in the future. He's going to do it in such a way that it works. Not so that you're like this part-time commitment, but so that you're a focus in his life. That's how he thinks. And so whether or not he will commit to you depends on a lot of factors. That is how your relationship develops. And at that point in his life when he says, yes, this is worth taking the obligations that I already have that aren't so important and putting them aside and making you, or actually raising you up to where you are the important point. So we go on to the next question, which is it serious at some point? This is the King of Cups. And we want to ask if at some point is he going to feel serious about you. You know, this person is so much like you. I mean, you know, when we're talking about you and when we're talking about him, and some of the other things that are going on here, we see so much of the cups, you know, and when it repeats like that, especially having to do with where you are and where he is, it tells me a lot about the attraction that's happening between the two of you. You know, there's no guarantee that there's a development. We'll take a look at what the outcome card really actually says, but there's no guarantee. It's just that there's so much going on here between you that's so similar and so much related to feelings and emotions and passion, that sort of thing, that it's hard to believe that this wouldn't be a positive relationship. I just think that it looks really good for you both. I really do. Okay, the direction that you guys are taking, which is the Page of Pentacles. Pentacles is, of course, it's monetary things, it's financial things, and the Page typically represents, you know, like a scholarly type of individual, but when it's reversed like that, it also means excess and luxury and, you know, sometimes illogical choices, that sort of thing. I don't know if this exactly relates to a whirlwind kind of relationship, but I don't see that happening to either one of you. I think it's more a point where there's a choice that has to be made, where maybe he or you have a decision on some of the things in your life that are important to you as far as moving forward. Could be in the workplace, it could be an opportunity that comes up. And to me, it feels like this might be something that it's possible the two of you could do it together, but it's more likely that it's one or the other of you that may need to make a decision whether or not you want to go down that path a little bit further, just because it's a positive monetary type thing. I get the feeling that actually it has to do with him. Maybe it's an opportunity that he is given that might take his time away from you for whatever reason, or that the two of you might have a little break in times together, maybe. If I understand right, because of the work that he does, he may end up doing a little bit of traveling. I don't see it as meaning traveling, but I'm trying to think of a way that this could be an interruption in a relationship that had to do with financial gain. So far what I'm seeing looks pretty good. I mean, you know, there's going to be lumps and bumps along the way. That's just part of a learning of a relationship. But you both are on the same track. There is a little bit of hesitancy, and of course, with the Moon card, it's one of those things where the two of you are going to have to be real clear with each other about what you want out of this. If one or the other of you brings up the possibility of a extended relationship, something where you come closer together. So that's got to be worked out, because you both have been hurt and you both are a little bit leery, but you both have this positive feeling about each other, and it has to do with faith and love and that sort of thing. So it's looking good. Let's see what the outcome is if things don't change. Okay, this is the Magician card, and this is a Major Arcana card. And the Magician card itself is like, oh, mastery of creative things and following through with the decisions you make in a confident manner. It's like exercising your choices and feeling good about them. So I don't know how much more clear that could be, because to me that just says work it out, take your time, be candid when it's appropriate, stay in touch with him, and don't just make it so that he's the one that has to approach you. You're approachable, there's no problem with that. And he's an extrovert, so he's approachable as well. And I think this is one of those relationships that could be best if it's give and take, if you both reach out to each other more often than not. And there's no reason why you couldn't call him up and say, you know, I just have this need to go do something that you like and that you think he might enjoy, maybe something different that you think he maybe hasn't done, and invite him. You take the upper hand every now and then and make it kind of an equal thing. I think in a relationship like what you two have, where you're so balanced like this, that's part of keeping that balance. That's part of bringing growth into a relationship where there's so many similar ideals and thoughts and ideas about the future. So to me it would be beneficial to both of you if you didn't just wait. He may have a family or cultural background where females need to be a little bit reserved, that sort of thing. But I think he understands that, you know, you're from a culture where women can be bold or can be emboldened to say things and do things they want to do. You know, in not being uncouth, but it doesn't hurt, you know, for you to at least attempt a time or two to reach out to him and say, you know, I really like you, I really enjoy spending the afternoon with you, and I just had this on my mind. Why don't you let me know if you have time to do it? And if not today, another day would be great. And invite him. You take the forward step and see how he responds to that. That's going to be another thing that you guys are going to need to learn about each other is, you know, the meshing that you two could do based on your personalities and your backgrounds, your expectations, that sort of thing. But, you know, Robyn, I'm seeing this as being a very positive relationship for you. Everything looks good. And if it doesn't change at this point, it's still going to continue on, because I see this card telling me that, hey, you're going to follow through on this with confidence at some point. That will be the outcome for both you and for him, because you both agree so much on so many things. You just need to let each other know that and make this a together effort. Okay? I hope that helps you, and I just have such high hopes for this. It just really pleases me more than you would know to see this kind of relationship and to see how it's going. I hope all is well with you and that you're living in beauty and that you live in love. You have such a positive thing about yourself that just comes through every time I look at your cards. It just, it's awesome. So I think there's nothing but good in the future for you if you decide to take this route. And somewhere down the line, if there is some kind of a failure, you can know it's probably not going to be anything you did. It's just the way things were meant to be. But it's going to be a very pleasurable experience. It'll continue to be a very pleasurable experience as long as you guys are open and honest with each other. So, let me know how things go at some point. I would love to hear from you again. Thanks.